Hello, welcome, good evening, good morning. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Haunting Hour, take two, part four of the Beach Bunny saga. Oh boy, guys. So, yesterday, if you were here on stream, God's bless you. I hope every god and goddess out there that's listening is blessing you for that because it was a bit of a dumpster fire, to be honest. um, I always I'm really appreciative of you guys' patience, and it was honestly due to like a lack of preparation on my part. It was just something that I think I was super focused on the dice game part of it that like I just did not prepare artist wise. So I kind of wanted to make up for that today. But how are you guys doing? Um, I hope everyone is doing good. It is currently Fun Friday over here, and surprisingly, no rain. Like, I say that now, and it's probably going to be like torrential downpour as soon as I log off. But yeah, so what's a little different today is that we have a bit of a reference board, which, by the way, I'm super happy. I finally figured out how to like log onto the screen onto like the streaming stuff, like a specific window. So you guys will be able to see the Fire Alpaca program a bit better. But this time around, before painting, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of digitally kind of like plot out the colors I'll be using, and I'm going to copy paste all of the color references that I used. These are basically artists that I follow on Instagram. I kind of labeled all of them here. So let me see. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in those, I can like zoom in if you guys want. But these are artists that I follow and that I love, like their color choices and stuff, and kind of inspired me um, when I was picking out the colors for today. They kind of like followed a specific theme that I wanted. Um, oh, I'll just put this all color references. Doo -doo -doo. But yeah, the link is all to their profiles. So you guys can check them out if you would like. Also, Adora's specific Instagrammer that I follow her also for her choices, like her like color choices, but also like how she outlines. For me, I really want to learn how she kind of does certain brush strokes and stuff like that. So I kind of got like two references from her Instagram uh, that are using like kind of these darkish pinks or these aqua blues, which I really like. But yeah, today is just gonna be a chill stream, and let me know if you guys have any questions or want any specific resources and stuff. But for the most part, oh, I also am using a new um, paper today. Like I kind of read online that there's no right or wrong side to a uh, watercolor paper that you can use. I know for the other kind of scrap water paper I used, it was kind of smooth on both sides. I think because it was like the 90-pound one, which is like kind of like a lighter weight watercolor. This one's kind of like medium-esque. I think it's from my notes, I want to say it's at 130 pounds, so it's like right in the middle. But this one does have like more tooth, I guess, is like the descriptor word used for that, like where it's like more edgy on one side than the other. But when I did read the descriptor online, it said that the smooth side could be used for kind of lighter washes as long as, you kind of give them enough, like kind of time to sit in between flats and stuff. But for the most part, detail work is recommended, at least it's said on the rougher side, but we shall see. So I guess today's like a bit of an experimentation day too. So I guess we'll be learning together. And yeah, I'm basically gonna lift my mic for the most part, unless you guys wanted to like catch up on anything in specific. Just because today I at least wanted to focus a little bit. But I know some of you guys did reach out to me that you did enjoy the game. Um, and so we'll definitely do that in the future. It's not off the table. It's just, I guess, I'll just make sure to either do like a pre-recorded, um, like a piece beforehand, and then we can kind of get more discussion. I just felt kind of bad because even some of you guys were messaging me on Instagram, and I felt like a little bit all over the place. So I definitely want to do that in the future. And so then, especially some of you guys submitted more questions, which I think is great. So we'll definitely get to those on another stream. So yeah, just gonna start painting and kind of look at the reference that the color palette and stuff from there. And I definitely recommend this if you are a traditional artist. Basically, what I did is I just took a picture of my sketch and then just uploaded it here on Fire Alpaca and just kind of played around with different color choices from like my references. Especially, you can do that with the Control T, so Control Transform. If you're wondering how I kind of got all of these pictures together, it's that I saved the pictures and I actually used Inkscape, which is like a photo editing tool, and you can combine and manually move pictures. So that's what I did. I kind of used that tool to kind of edit them all together and export it onto my desktop. And then I kind of made the like the image of all of these together. I put it as a layer, so then I didn't have to like worry about it or anything. So if I ever want to like click off or on, I can do that. So yeah. I made this one a specific layer, so then what I'm gonna do is kind of shrink it down so that in case I need to look at my other references, it's just neatly there. But yeah, that's at least how I did it. To kind of, because I knew all of these pictures had something where I knew I liked something about them, but for me, seeing them all in kind of this like board, I guess, of being able to like pick and choose and play with my own painting. It kind of keeps me a bit more organized, and it also gave me some ideas that I honestly, when I sit down to paint, it's a bit overwhelming because it's like, as you guys can see, even from like the past stream, it's not, well, objectively, but when I looked at it, especially after the stream, like the colors don't make sense. Like for me, there's no cohesive like highlights or like I thought I went with an idea, and that's what's funny. It's that I thought I was like, well, they're kind of pastel-y colors, so eventually they'll make sense. But at least for what I'm going for, um, and where I'm kind of at in my artist journey, I need a bit more, especially once I got to like the tattoo part, I was like, oh no, this doesn't make any sense. But that's okay. I mean, that just means that now I'm learning a bit more about my style as far as when it comes to planning pieces. And yeah, I think I just learned today or yesterday that I need a little bit more planning when it comes to that part. And yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna lift the mic. But if you guys have any questions or anything, or just want to say hi down in the chat, I'm always happy to hear from you guys. Oh, guys, funny story. I just noticed I don't have my cup of water. I left it in the kitchen, so BRB. I'll be right back. Oh, I also got me a snack while I was there. Fuel for the travel. Okay, so now oh, okay, I'm just checking if my mic is working. Basically now what I'm making is the wash for the background. It's a pretty good idea to kind of um, make a bigger pool of color for your background pieces, just because for me I like kind of like that flat look, especially I will be using kind of negative space or like a little bit of white patches for clouds, just to like add um, some texture and stuff. So I'm not gonna really need that many blues, especially it's kind of supposed to be like a beach day kind of blue. So I'm gonna try and make as much of it as I can so then it can kind of cover that half of the sky before painting the sand. So I already have kind of a little bit of yellow from last time, so I'm gonna try and kind of replicate that look again today. Yeah, also I've never used this paper before, so I'm kind of curious how it'll look. So we'll see. Alright, now I'm gonna like clean my brush and go in with the yellow. And don't mind me if you guys hear any crunching. I'm gonna try and lift my mic as much as possible though. I apologize, I did not have time to snack before. Well, I guess the good thing is it is crackers, so if it does get into the sand, oh gosh. See, this is why even with having pets, I'm always super careful, even when I'm like painting to like vacuum and everything like beforehand. I cannot tell you how many times I thought it was like a hairbrush or something, and it gets like caught in the paint as it dries, and I have to get well, a good fix to that, if that ever happens to anybody else, is tweezers, like very like fine tip tweezers, um, or if you don't want to like potentially like rip through the paper, even a Q-tip. If you wet it just a little bit, not if you've inked. Unfortunately, like if you ink, it kind of risks like smudging things. But if you kind of just like dab it, or even with like a paper towel, probably paper towel would be better because I know cotton sometimes, with like dollar store um, Q-tips and stuff, like the cotton will like kind of frazzle out. So maybe paper towel is like the better of those options. Or a damp towel. That should work too, but only if it's like in a safe space where like there's like very minimal like mixing and stuff that would happen. Okay, so anytime this happens in a painting, like let's say you have a bit of color on the base that's one color and then a completely different one on top. Make sure to leave a little bit of space, so kind of like a thin white line. So then in those pieces, like they'll individually dry. So then you don't accidentally, when you go to like fill it in, you don't accidentally mix those colors. So just like hold on and leave kind of like a thin white line between those two as it dries. And then eventually what you can do is you can get a brush, like a flat brush like this, or if you want to have it a bit more in control, one that's like a bit smaller or narrower. So then you can kind of manually, with your watercolor, like fill in that white gap, um, with either the bottom or the top. So if it's going to be from, you want to fill it in with like the yellow color here, you kind of like dab it, with the yellow once everything is completely dry. Or if you want to fill it with more blue, what you can do is then flip your brush like this and then dab it um, with blue, but always making sure to like kind of point your brush and like push to like where it's going to be pulling the color to whatever color you want to fill it with. So if you're going to fill it with blue, making sure the color is going up into the blue, and if it's going to be yellow, then it's going to be patted like and pulling down to the yellow. So then there's like minimal mixing, because I know with watercolor that's super easy to do, especially when everything is still in the process of drying. So that's a quick tip. Okay, so I'm just like mixing in some tones for the skin tone. To tell you the truth, I'm always like the worst at this. So I go through like a lot of different swatches and stuff to kind of get kind of a good shade, especially like for like peachier colors or ones that have like a little like rose to them for like blush marks. I try and especially it's a good idea to add a little bit of blush when like to places like joints, ears, cheeks, um, kind of like the crooks of you know what? Let me test it out on. See, that's the good thing about at least failing. Uh, like on one thing, you can kind of experiment with it. Okay, let me see. Alrighty, now let me just add a little bit of water so then we have a bit more. I do love the little spray bottle too. Okay, let's see. Alrighty, I think we're good. I know every time I have a character with tattoos, like I'm always skeptical. I'm like, should I just leave it blank? But at the same time, like I would want to fill in like tones for their skin because you want it to look kind of like not like it's just like a piece of paper or something like with a decoration. I think I answered my own question. Oh, if you hear the tip taps of that's baby girl or uh, foster puppy. She's exploring her surroundings. So here is just filling in flat, and then we'll go in once it's a little more dry. We'll go in with rosier colors. As I just noticed, I'm using a flat brush for everything. Um, Sorry, it's like a bit of a habit. Like I just think, flat colors, yes. But especially for smaller spaces that we're gonna go in and fill color, it's a better idea to use like a fine tip one, which we'll get in a little bit. But I'm gonna let that dry. I'm awful at patience, so oh, I forgot her belly. Also, a lot of times it's a very good idea also before going in with shadows to let your watercolor completely dry because a lot of the times watercolor does tend to dry darker. So if you want to get those values kind of correct, as far as where to place your shadows and where to place like certain um, shades and stuff, it's best to really wait it out. I know I'm horrible. I cannot wait for anything, which is why I chose watercolor because it teaches me a very necessary life skill. So definitely wait for that. Um, two, honestly, I really like the way that that knee came out. Like, I almost don't want to like touch it with anything else. So, I don't think I want to add blush. I'm tempted to, but honestly, I love the way it came out. So we're gonna add later blush to the shoulders and to the ears, um, like to her human ears. And so what I'm gonna do is while I let that dry, then I'm just gonna go on to our beach ball, which I chose. Let me double check what colors I chose. So it's a dark blue on the outside and a lighter blue on the inside. So what I'm gonna do is actually go in and fill the lighter side first and then layer it with a darker. Um, Honestly, for me, I found that that's like the easiest approach when you're dealing with an object that's like two different colors, or in this case, three. Just because if we're working for um, like kind of going from middle to outer edge, it is easier to cover up a uh, let's say a lighter color to darker color by covering it up with a darker color than it is the other way around. So for example, if I were to go from outside in, so with that darker shade and then try and fill in the lighter portion, it'll most likely um, be a lot smudgier and the lines won't be as clean because at least for me, especially in a circular object, it's you only have so much room, especially with smaller pieces, to make corrections. And even though in this case the ball is um, outlined, like I will eventually outline it in ink with a darker color on top of it, you kind of have like room um, for mistakes because at the end of the day, you are going to cover it up with a border. So you have like some wiggle room. But if this is just like, for example, like in if you were to, I don't know, uh, color or have some like something like your character holding a water bottle or a can with decorations or anything on it, definitely go and color in the lightest part of it and then trace it afterwards, depending on the placement, with that darker because more likely than not, if you go a little bit ham with like the lighter color, you can clean it up with that darker one. So I'll kind of demonstrate it right now. Now the question is, I'm not sure which one of these I would want to go with, so I'm gonna like test it out on my practice paper because digital is one thing and then actually having the watercolor in front of you is another. So we're gonna kind of do some mixology here and see what colors kind of come out similar to the reference. Okay, so this is our first dark blue, which is kind of, I would want it a little darker. Like honestly, it just kind of looks like a shade of, I will want it to like pop out a little bit more, especially that the ball is going to be a similar color as the as like the background. So I want to make sure, you know what, let me just try and get it straight from the dish and not mix it with like the sky color. Ooh, oh, that's dark. Okay. Okay, maybe I'm just adding too much water on it. Okay. All right, I'll leave it alone, let it dry a little bit, and then see where we're at with that. And I want to say the other color's kind of like more purpley, so question mark. I know it's not until I see all these blues side by side that I'm like, ah, yes. There is a clear difference. Especially that they are going to be so close together. I want to make sure they're kind of, because it's true, you would think all shades of blue would kind of complement each other, but I do like that blue just because it's a bit more fun and neon-y. But let's see how it matches up with this one. I just remember these blues specifically because I had a character with I want to say it was like a blowfish tattoo. And I remember I compared all of these blues together. Oh, that is vibrant. Like, I like it. It's like very rich. I like it. Like, I feel like this color has a mansion, like a 4-story mansion. It's so rich. Okay, now the question is, what do I... I'm kind of leaning towards, let's see. I'll see them side by side and I'm seeing how it reads on camera. Yeah, I'm kind of liking this like in-betweeny one and then paired with like that really dark blue. So, let me see. I wonder if because like the darker edge is kind of purpley and then I feel like the middle color is much lighter blue. So, maybe that's what it is. Like I need to take it like even a shade lighter for it to. So I am mixing the, let's see, maybe that work. Yeah, because that just like matches a little too much with the sky, you know? I guess because it is like, yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards like that in-betweeny and then that like rich blue. So, yeah, let's give it a try. By the end of it, I kind of wanted to complement the orange, so we shall experiment. So let's mix up that in-betweeny color and I do. I kind of have to say all of these things in my head. If not, I'm gonna forget like how I even made colors as soon as I mix them. That's why I kind of have to do swatches and stuff like that. It, on the same day, I've tried it where I swatch like 1 or 2 days beforehand, and then I completely forget how I came up with those colors. Let's make it a little darker. So then it's a little bit different. There we go. Just a little. Okay, let's see. Alrighty, I'm not mad at it. So let's try and color in. So I'm gonna go in with the flat brush for this one and then kind of clean up the sides with a... Alright, it's a little darker than I have planned out, but that's okay. I guess when we see it with the darker, so this is kind of what I'm talking about, like kind of filling in, because more than likely, especially even if you do clean it up on the edge, there's still going to be some overlap. So it is much better to go in and um, kind of go in with that lighter color at first and then just layer it and trim it down with a darker color. So then, because they're probably, especially as it's drying, watercolor tends to spread. Just make sure that it's all dry before you go in with that that second color, because it'll be more prone to bleeding over. And it's not really the effect that we want. If it's something that, of course, like you want that effect in, then you gotta act fast. So then it can kind of make that new. It can make like the colors mix together, but gotta act a little fast. Mm. But in this case, we want it to be a bit cleaner, so we're gonna wait to add that dark color. I'm looking at the skin tone. We're looking good. I think we are ready. Someone asked me too the other day, like, how do you check if your paint is dry? I don't really recommend checking with your fingers because if you're anything like me, I always have smudgy fingers, whether if it's like pen or so like the minimal that you can like kind of touch those areas of your paper, the better. What I do is I kind of look at your paper. So this is like thing, and what you do is from the cardboard, or you kind of give it a tilt, just like a slight tilt. And if there's any movement or anything, that's when you definitely know. But also like the sheenness of the paper, or you can even, if you're bold enough to, I don't know if you can tell, like here, you can tell like these spots are still drying because they're still glistening, but these areas they're completely dry because they're not as shiny. So it'll help to actually have a lamp or something like that that you can kind of, or a light source where you can kind of shine. And if it's like very glistening like that, then definitely give your paper some time to dry. But if it kind of dries a bit flat, then like if it looks basically like this, where if you see there's no shine or anything, um, then you know like you're safe. There's like basically, especially that this part is the more textured part. There's kind of like a way or a look to paint when it's dry, where you can kind of see the little creases of the paper, if that makes sense. But I know with this one, since I've never painted on the smooth side before, I'm not sure how. But I definitely know the glistening rule definitely always helps. But yeah, try not to tilt your paper too much because then if it's still wet and then like it's still kind of moving around, um, or able to move around, just try and check for that glistening with like minimal like movement. So just kind of like lightly, like take it up to that light and see if it's like glistening and stuff. But yeah, now that it looks like we have no glistening, we are going to add some blush now. So I'm going to take my fine tooth brush, which I believe, I have like a couple of sizes here. So I want to use a smaller one. So the smaller that you have, the more color you'll inevitably pick up. The larger brush that you have, the more water you'll pick up, depending on how much, especially if um, you are taking your brush directly in contact with the paint. Just know that um, It's better to do it with a flat brush than a fine tooth one just because of the shape of the brush. A lot of the times, like if you're trying to pick up paint, it'll just be um, like basically the paint will stay here instead of absorb it like through the stroke. So it's a bit better anytime you are going to add paint onto your palette to do it with a flat brush. Ooh, also if you guys have like these that like come with it, definitely trying and preserve, especially for the smaller ones, trying to preserve the shape with these little tubes is really, really helpful because it'll preserve the shape a lot more. Just because, especially I use these brushes for like detail work, especially around the borders. Um, yeah, I use it for that, and then also the very small detail brushes like this. Using that, it helps because if not, if not, then your brushes end up like this. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, they're all like thistly and basically I use this to like add glitter to stuff at this point. So yeah, I'm gonna add the blush right now, which basically a pretty easy recipe for blush for any character. It's basically getting your skin tone and spraying it down with a bit of water and adding a bit of pink or I've never used red. I know people have used red, especially for more orange complexions. So, for example, like used this like cherry red before, especially for characters with like either freckles or something like that, just to add a bit more, um, I guess, like rosiness to it. Um, but for today, we're using like a pinky just because I wanted to, since the how I created the color was with a peach, a little bit of gold, and then we're just adding this bit of pink. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm just gonna add this to like the crooks. So basically her, um, oh my gosh, I almost forgot the word for it. Her shoulder and her ears. And if it ever gets like where it's a little too pink, what you can do is just wait for it to dry just a little bit, see how it goes, because again, sometimes it does dry a bit darker, and if anything, just add water. Once it's a little dry, I'm gonna add it to the palms a little bit, add a little bit of shade, and you can also use it to kind of shade the jawline. But if it's ever too pink, like don't panic. Um, what you can do is re-wet the surface once you're like for sure that it's a little too dark, and then get either for me I like to use uh, towels like cloth towels than paper towels, and you can just wet it slightly and pick up the color with the paper towel or the towel. But yeah, we're not gonna add the blush yet. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I actually have to go right now because my puppy is crying and I think it's basically uh, dinner time for him. So, guys, thank you so so much for joining me. And I'm gonna like finish up the piece, post it on Instagram, and I will see you guys Monday for Monday stream. Just keep an eye on Instagram because I'll be putting up a poll to see like what you guys want to do next on the paint with me. And thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.